Hello to all of you bold, beautiful, brilliant, and highly evolved souls. I'm Davina, and today's topic is going to be the 5 F's. And probably you've heard at least, 3 or 4. So I've gone over this before, and I feel like the more times I go over this, the more I understand it. So I hope that this will also help you gain a better understanding of your nervous system. So the 5 are flight, fight, freeze, fawn, and flop or collapse. Just they all start with F, it's handy, right? Um, and I also want to go into more detail today about the difference between freeze and the flop or collapse mode, because I think for me anyway, it's still a bit confusing. Am I just in freeze? I'm in collapse. And then the more I know, the more I can, help myself and know what's going on and therefore what maybe my body needs. So just going over like the basics here. Of course, when we're faced with a threat, if we've had trauma in the past and now we're here in the present, but we're faced with some sort of threat, and it could be anything, then our body will just sort of automatically go into these states in order to, protect ourselves. So it's really important that this is happening like just automatically. It's not within your control. It's not your fault. Your nervous system has already been like through so much in your childhood that, it's just, it's kind of like over activated. So I'll start with flight. Of course, flight is when we want the first, like getaway, of course. You want to flee, you want to get away, you want to run away, get away from the threat or the danger, whatever it is. And it could be, yeah, a narcissistic spouse who's, yelling at you. So your first, instinct might be to like get out of the apartment and go for a walk just to escape that situation. And, so you can avoid that danger. And if you're kind of this type, also, you might fall, if you're kind of dominant flight, then you might be the type that's, avoiding things or like staying really busy and distracted and rushing and like sort of driven, and maybe you have a lot of anxiety. So that would be sort of the flight type. The fight response, of course, is when we, when we're gonna act in a maybe aggressive way. It's like we're going to defend ourselves. We're going to, I don't know, you could defend yourself physically, of course, or just with words, just speaking up for yourself, setting a boundary. And a fight type is a person who is going to be basically, I think, the narcissistic type. I think Pete Walker talks about this as well. This is the people that want to dominate and control. So that is the fight response. And of course, there's a healthy fight response, and then there's the like you're just stuck in that mode all the time. And the next one is freeze. So in this case, we've basically just, where our body has just stopped. We're just like frozen. We're paralyzed with fear. And in this state, if you're a freeze type, you might be prone to like disconnecting, procrastinating, having difficulty making decisions, maybe just withdrawing from things. And in freeze state, it's kind of interesting. You're still in the hyper arousal mode as you would be with fight and flight, but in this case, your nervous system is in both the parasympathetic and the the sympathetic and the parasympathetic mode both. So you're kind of like it's like if you met a tiger in the jungle, and your first thing is to try to run away. Can I run away from the tiger? And if you can't do that, can I fight the tiger? Can I like hit it with I don't know, a big stick or something to beat it off? And if you can't do those things, then you would freeze and you would try to make yourself really still and hope that they don't notice you. So it's but you're still like on that alert. You're still in that alert mode, ready to run if you need to. If he suddenly sees you, then you can run away. But you're frozen, hoping that your predator will lose interest. So that's kind of like an in-between mode where you're both you're in the hyper aroused state, but your nervous system is sort of a little bit of both. And next we go into the fawn mode. And these last two are where the threat is inescapable. And this is where things change a bit because you go into the hypoarousal state. So obviously with fawning, I know probably many of us are like a strong fawn type. I know I am. And this is where we go into compliance and helpfulness. It's the please and appease. And again, if you had that tiger in the woods situation, you can't run away, you can't fight it off, and he's noticed you. So what do? Well, maybe you have a piece of steak in your pocket and you feed him the steak so he's not going to eat you. So you're trying to, please him so he won't attack you. And of course, this works with, any kind of threat in our life. It could be just, again, someone who's, insulting you or something, So, so we want to do anything like in an abusive situation, we want to try and avoid the abuse by trying to help and please the other person. So of course, this will lead to, we have trouble setting boundaries. We put others' needs above our own, and we end up in a codependent situation. And the last one, which is the flop or the collapse or what's called a shutdown mode, is you've literally, all your other options, have not worked. So your body has become, it's kind of like you're going to play dead. This is your last kind of hope. Well, actually, this point, I think there's no hope. I should say no. This point, you're like, this is hopeless. And I guess the difference between the freeze and fawn and then the flop is if like you're frozen in the woods and you're trying to avoid the tiger seeing you, and the tiger sees you, and you don't have a piece of steak, and then what do? You're like, he's seen me, I'm a goner, I'm doomed. And so your body just like shuts down and it dissociates because this is kind of gruesome, but to lessen the pain. If that tiger is going to eat you, at least you can dissociate so it will be less painful. So your body has just shut down. Your breathing, your heart rate has really slowed. Your body is just sort of limp and loose. And you're just really completely detached from, detached from your emotions. But the emotions that are there that are probably not being felt are the depression and the shame and the hopelessness. And I think those are probably the main three that are dominating this state, as well as, the exhaustion and the numbness that you're in. So yeah, it's a real state of just like a continuous kind of tiredness. It's just like I've kind of given up. I don't see any way out of this situation. And so it's like it's just a collapse kind of mode. So I hope that kind of clears up the difference between the freeze and the collapse as well. And the freeze, you're still in that rigid, I'm paralyzed by the fear, but I'm also ready to go back into the fight and the flight. In the collapse, it's just your body is just now like yeah, you're kind of, it's kind of a give up, I guess, kind of mode, right? And I've been learning a lot about this in the last few months in my journey. So, and I think that the key thing for any of these states is to just be really gentle and not force it. Like if you're in the flop and collapse mode, it doesn't mean you need to like run out to the gym to get yourself activated. You want to like really, really gently just sort of start letting your brain know that there is a possibility. There's some possibility, there's some action I can take, there's some step I can take to like get myself just into some sort of like forward kind of movement, that I'm not in this. And I guess a learned helplessness also probably goes along with that collapse state, that we learned that, no matter what we did, it wasn't going to change things. So we can go into that learned helplessness mode. And it's important to be aware of that. So we think, no matter what I do, I can't get out of this. And maybe we can get out of this, right? There's always, in our childhood, there wasn't, but now that we're in our adult life, there is something we can do to change our situation. There is no situation that is completely hopeless. And what happened, what sort of changed for me last night is I finally was able to feel, and I just like, I kind of came out of the denial. Like I've just been like zombie mode. Like that's kind of what the collapse feels. I'm just like going through the motions of my day. I'm like eat breakfast, like scroll on Reddit. It's just very lifeless kind of living. But what got me out of that was finally tapping into that hopelessness and that terror that I was experiencing. Like I'm unemployed right now, and I really am trying, like I cannot, like a lot of me just cannot see like anything into the future. I'm just like, I know I can figure this out, but man, it is felt. And when I got those tears coming and the fear and feeling the fear and really acknowledging how much shame I'm feeling, there's just a little shift, and that's what we're trying to aim for, is just small shifts, gentle movement, nothing like pushed or forced. So be gentle. Your nervous system is trying to protect you and do the best it can. It's really trying to help you, and it's not your fault. So I hope this has helped you. I think this has been kind of long, but I am sending you so many blessings on your journey of healing and awakening. And I am Davina at Boldness Blooming. Thank you for watching.